Joining me on Extraplasm podcast, two gentlemen who I've wanted to talk to for quite a while because they are linked to a car that has a story and that many people have seen, but also because they're just two guys who also are like huge Ghostbusters fans who are back east. And I love people from back east because I'm a New Yorker. I want to welcome to the podcast from Ecto-1NJ, Nick Ferrara, and the EctoTech, Greg Hilyard. How are you guys doing? Nick, how are you?
Hey, great. Great to be here. Excited to be on the podcast today.
And Greg, how are you doing?
Doing great, Jim. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk to both of you. And I have to say, like, I've been amused because when I would talk to about you, Greg, you've like developed a name of EctoTech, like this brand that you have on Instagram at this point as you are the EctoTech. And I was like, somebody said, have you ever talked to the EctoTech? And I was like, I have. And they were like, what's his name? And at one point I was like, I don't remember, but he's the EctoTech. So keep rolling that because that's working well for you. And then Nick, I think we've never connected before, but like I've told you before we started recording, I've been following your car like for a long time. When you first were going to get it on the road way back, a few years ago and as you were building it. And so it's kind of nice to be able to finally meet up virtually and have a conversation. So. Yeah,
likewise. Yeah, I'm just happy you're interested in the story of the car.
Yeah, for sure. And we found out when you got here that you're a Rangers fan, so you immediately got bonus points. So like, that's it. Like that's, if there was a way to ever be like, wow, I'm going to talk to two dudes from the East Coast and it's going to make me feel like I'm having a homecoming and feel good. You showed up with the New York Rangers hat on and I'm like, yes, these are my people. Yeah. I can, it's good.
I had posted a couple of pictures outside the garden, and they're like, but it's the NJ Ecto one. I'm like, yeah, but I grew up in the household the right way, so we were Rangers fans. So I got a little flack for that, but yeah, big Ranger fans in our household. So.
I get the salt because I grew up on Long Island, and people are like, "Aren't you an Islanders fan?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to the Nassau Mausoleum to go watch hockey. I'm good."
Yeah, again, I mean, they were homeless for like the last decade, shuttling between buildings. So again, you were raised right. That's what it comes down to.
Right. I mean, and I endured a lot of 1940 chants in my life. Before 1994. Yeah. The first 14 years of my life, I spent riding school buses of people yelling 1940 in like Islanders starter jackets.
Yeah. Those were rough days. At least 94 broke that heck, so that was a good thing.
Some people out there right now are like, when did this become a hockey podcast? It's not. It's a Ghostbusters podcast, but I'm allowed. I'm allowed to indulge hockey. It's permissible.
We got some time. We'll get to the Ghostbusters stuff.
Yeah, well, hey, if this was the Interdimensional Cross Trip, shout out to another podcast that we love and enjoy. Then it's not as if like Troy Benjamin wouldn't also be geeking out about hockey in this moment. I'm sure. So just anybody who has an issue with it, go take it up with Troy. Go bring it to him. Complain to Troy. Don't really do that. Troy will be like, "Why are you telling people to complain to me on your show?" But anyway, well, like I said, I'm really excited you're both here because not only are you people who live in greater proximity to amazing pizza than I do, but also. You've been out and about with an Ecto-1 lately. We're going to talk about some of the places you've been most recently. I think that where a lot of people saw you was apparently you're the new manager. Your car is Matt Cardona's new manager. I don't know if the two of you are, but the car is
valet.
Yeah, we're just Ecto. Well, honestly, we're just Ecto groupies. We just follow the car, and we cater to whatever needs she has.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
I've said it a few times before. The car is the star, and Nikki and I just ride her coattails.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Well, I thought I was kind of laughing when I saw your car. We're going to talk about it for sure and get into it, but I want to just comment on it real quick. When I saw your car at the GCW homecoming and it was coming down the ramp, I was like, this needs like a big loud jacket on top of it and a bullhorn just screaming. Like, you should have dressed the car up like Jimmy Hart to come out. Look, it's got new add-ons. They're not canon, but it doesn't matter.
Listen, I mean, it's not to say that's the last wrestling entrance it will have. So who knows? The next time it rolls out, you may see something like that.
Yeah, there you go. Then in the future, maybe we'll see it with a big bullhorn. That would be great.
You never know.
Sure. Give her a little wardrobe change.
Yes, look, it's not as if the car can't have a wardrobe change. There might even be wardrobe changes for other cars that are coming in the future in movies that we're yet to see yet, that we still don't know the title of, but might in the near future someday.
Yeah, that's true.
Ghostbusters Firehouse, still kind of, sort of, temporarily, but not really, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, are we ever going to get a title for that, or it's just going to keep getting delayed?
I think it'd be funny if they eventually just were like, psych, the title's been Firehouse the whole time. This time we just put you on. But I'm also been in the mindset that they could do that movie and never leave the firehouse. They could just do it like a bottle episode, and I would have been totally fine with it, which is clearly not what's happening. But
yeah. But I mean, they listen. They're bringing the Ghostbusters back to New York City for the first time in 40 years. So it doesn't matter what they put in that movie. It's pretty exhilarating to think about.
Well, I'll ask you both this. Like, when you saw that the car, like, that they had, a screen Ecto-1, like one of the ones from Afterlife, when it was out and about in New York City in June, were you at all compelled to just get in yours and just drive over there and be like, you want to race?
We definitely talked about showing up with ours. I don't think the film crew would have really appreciated that.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we would. My car would have got smoked. So they got an LS3 in there. I mean, ours is 0 to 60 in like 6 minutes. A lot of the, I mean, it takes a little bit, but yeah, it was definitely a conversation we had.
Yeah, I mean, I think you made the right call. I think if you had showed up, you would have probably created mass confusion. Yeah, but it also kind of would have been hilarious if you just rolled up and you're like, "Hey, so you want to race?"
Yeah, the last thing I wanted is to get on Sony's red list. So
yeah,
so we were playing. We were on to play nice, but plus we just wanted to see the Afterlife car and what they had done to it because I have the Ecto-1NJ. Greg has worked on plenty of Ectos. I'm not going to guarantee that there's not going to be another Ecto coming through my way. So we want you to check that car out for sure.
Greg, just out of curiosity, how many Ectos have you worked on at this point in your sort of like EctoTech career?
So just in Jersey, so we got Nikki's car, the Ecto-1NJ, and then I have one I built for a family friend of mine, loosely, an uncle, if you will, and that's the Ecto-1NJ South. And that vehicle is the sister car to the one that's at the Volo Auto Museum.
Okay.
So they essentially used that vehicle to turn the car at Volo from a 60 to a 59 Miller Meteor, because that vehicle is actually a 60. So they used the vehicle that I worked on here. So it had a Ecto-ish conversion done, I'll call it that, but far from screen accurate. If anybody's seen the Volo car, there's it's not exactly, it doesn't jump off the screen to you. So I essentially did the same thing that we did to the Ecto-1 New Jersey, where it essentially got all new light bars, the roof siren, the propeller ray, the roof strobe, brackets, the oxygen tanks, anything you can really think of that should be on an Ecto to make it look like it's, the 83 filming for the 84, that's kind of my expertise as far as accuracy level. And that's where I really tried to really dial that in. And then I also did a Eureka. It's a 59 Eureka. It had an affiliation with the car builder, George Barris. And I did a slight restoration on that as well. Same kind of thing, a little more accurate lights. I got it running for the guy. That was the one that was formerly at Volo. If anybody's seen it, it was the ambulance from the movie In the Heat of the Night with Sidney Poitier.
Yep.
So they did an Ecto conversion to that, and it lived its life at Volo. So those are the 3 Jersey cars. So probably collectively about maybe 8 of them. I've sent some parts overseas to the guys over there. The Germany car, Ecto-1 Germany, has a few of my parts on it.
Nice.
I been kind of working remotely with the North Illinois Ecto-1A, which, if anyone remembers the Hardy store from the late 80s, right before GB2 came out, there's a shot of 2 little guys right at Hardy's with the Ecto-1A, 2 red-haired kids, and that's Marty West and his brother Matt. And they're doing that North Illinois Ecto-1A, so I'm helping them out a little bit with that. And I've been out to the Ecto, Ohio. Lauren, he's a good friend of mine, so just kind of all over the place. The Mecum Ecto-1A, doing a little bit of stuff to that. That was the one that sold at Mecum Houston last year. So a little bit of stuff to that here and there. So just trying to help out where I can, and but these cars are a daily amount of work. So
you've made it into a specialty. I find it fascinating. You've kind of become a go-to expert for Ecto stuff. And I am very impressed by it, because anytime I've mentioned your name to somebody, oh yeah, no, he worked on this car. I'm like, this guy is everywhere. He just drops in. He's like, hi, I've come with my suitcase of tools and we're going to fix your Ecto. And I'm like, it's amazing. So
he's like a Ghostbuster. Sure. He's a Ghostbuster superhero with his tube out. He is the EctoTech. Like the Ohio State, he is the EctoTech.
I think that there should be, I'm going to be real about this. Like, there should be like, because for like, this is kind of funny to think about. And we'll get into like the car in a minute, but I kind of wanted to like bring you both in and be like, well, you know, what do you both do? Like, Nick, I know you have your car and I know that, you know, Greg has worked on it a bunch, but how does this all work? Like, I find this kind of fascinating because when I went to, I think that you had just posted that you were off, Greg, babysitting the Ecto at a drive-in over the weekend, right? Like, which by the way, I love that you were like, all right, off at a drive-in with the car. Like, and I watched the clips that you had of this. If people haven't seen this, go and look at EctoTech on Instagram because like you all are watching Ghostbusters with the car next to the screen as the car comes out of the firehouse in the movie, you are like firing up the lights and the sirens. Like, this is so fun. And I love drive-in movies. That's how I saw the movie the first time. I was 4 and I saw the first movie in a drive-in. So it's a great experience from my perspective. But
since you saw it at the drive-in, so did the black pre-Ecto that Roger Bay owns. After they finished filming, so anybody knows that car went from red to black and grayish when Ray drove it, and he took that car with his girlfriend in Illinois and put some logos on it and made his own T-shirts for the film release in '84.
That's awesome.
For anyone that doesn't know about that.
What I was thinking about is that when I saw Afterlife, you know, at the Friends and Family thing, that Sony did. They had like the premiere in New York and they had the Friends and Family screening out in LA. They had, you know, one of the cars, one of the Ectos from the movie at that screening. And our understanding at the time, what we were told was that it was not the run and drive car, that it was the car they brought to Randy's Donuts. And that kind of made some sense to me because the run and drive car would go to New York and then have to move around New York City. So you'd want the stable car that you could actually maybe move somewhere. And so they had a technician. He was basically a Sony motor technician whose job was to essentially go to all of these different events and be the mechanic on site. And so he's out there trying to get like the Afterlife Ecto to start so he can push it back just like 6 feet from where it was because it was in the way of something. And I was like, this is crazy that this is like actually a job. Like you get a job for basically Sony as a motor mechanic and they go, hey, we need you to move the helmet car or we need you to move the Breaking Bad RV to a location and it's currently not running. So figure out what's going on with it. So you've kind of got like that roving job now for the entire Ghostbusters community. I think it's kind of fun, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe I'll put an application in for maybe one of those.
But if you do that, then you can't come work on any of the cars that people need you to work on because Sony will be like, no, you have an NDA and you can't touch any Ectos except for ours.
Somebody's got to restore that thing again.
I'll match whatever offer Sony throws at you, Greg. Don't worry.
I mean, you have to be fair. If somebody comes around and says you can work on the car, that's a very appealing, I would imagine, offer to be
honest, Jim, there's actually a couple parts sitting here for it right here. So
that's great.
Just in case Jason and Gil Keenan are watching, just in case.
Just in case Sony's like, hey, maybe we should actually restore it back to before the things we did to it in 2009. And then left it in the sun.
Oh, what a sin.
I love you, Ghost Corps. I love you. Please put the car somewhere safe. Please put the car somewhere safe. I love you. But yeah, I've said a couple weeks, like it was last week, I think, that I said, put it in a museum, give it to the Peterson, just let them hold on to it for a while. It's crazy, but they took the Afterlife Ecto and they brought it to the 3rd floor of the Peterson Museum, and I still don't understand how. I'm like, what? How big is this freight elevator that you have for this?
That is a task and a half right there. Just getting my car around on the road is one thing. Getting it to a 3rd floor, forget it. I don't think we have those capabilities.
It was on the 3rd floor and it was tucked into a corner. Like, it was just like, how did you get this thing up here? Let alone, how did you then navigate it around all of the other stuff that's up here? Anyway.
I would have loved to see that on video.